You want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You can't handle the truth!
Well, we're giving you the Michigan Sports Truth, the show that detects, exposes, and reveals actual and hidden facts, truth, research, and statistics about all the Detroit and Michigan sports teams that the mainstream media doesn't want you to know, whether fans like it or not. No junk, no entertainment, no homerism, no coddling, no pop culture, no opinions, no shilling, and no fluff. Head over to our website at michigansportstruth.weebly.com, follow us on Twitter at Michigan_truth, and like our Facebook page, The Michigan Sports Truth. Also listen to us on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts via iTunes. The Michigan Sports Truth podcast does not represent or defame any of the teams it covers. It only detects, exposes, and reveals honest, actual, and hidden truth, facts, and statistics about them.
And welcome to the postgame edition for Tuesday, June 26, 2018. I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Also with our national sports reporter, Louis Tenore. Today we're going to talk about the four-game sweep by the Oakland Athletics of those putrid Tigers. Also, now former Tigers pitching coach Chris Bosio filing a lawsuit after his firing. I don't know what the deal is with that, but man. Plus a little Red Wings and Mike Green news, but let's get to the game recap first.
That one is long gone!
Nick Castellanos hits a 2-run home run, but that's all the Tigers' offense could muster in the first inning. That's it. Just a 2-run homer in the first inning, and Michael Fulmer gives up 3 runs in the third, 1 in the fourth. Mark Canha got the A's on the board with an RBI single, followed by a game-tying RBI single by Jed Lowry, who has been red hot at the dish. Chris Davis made it 3-2 with another RBI single, and then Chad Pinder with an RBI double in the fourth, scoring Stephen Piscotty. That was it. Michael Fulmer takes the loss, now drops to 3-7 with a 4.20 ERA, goes 8 innings, gives up all 4, all earned on 9 hits, no walks, and 5 strikeouts. For the Athletics, Manaea, 6 innings pitched, the 2 runs on 5 hits, Sean Manaea, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Jed Lowry finished 2 for 4 with an RBI, with the RBI single. Also, Stephen Piscotty finished 2 for 4. Tigers now dropped to 10 games below 500, 36-46, third place in the American League Comedy Central standings. Now 9.5 games back of the Tribe, the Cleveland Indians, 44-35. The Tigers are now 5th worst in the American League, 15 games back of the wild card spot. They've now lost 9 straight, while the A's continue to be red hot and find ways to win. 4 straight wins, 44-38, 2.5 games ahead of the Los Angeles Angels for third place in the AL West, and 7.5 games back of the Seattle Mariners for the second AL wildcard spot. The A's are catching up, trying to make a playoff push, while I don't have any predictions for the World Cup. That's not in my format, sorry. But Tigers are seeing water already starting to hit its level. And the Tigers are going to head to Toronto for another 4-game series at Rogers Center with the Blue Jays, starting tomorrow night on a Friday at 7:07 p.m. Eastern Time. The Blue Jays, 37-43. They're coming off 2 straight losses. They're 4th place, 15 games back of the Yankees or Red Sox in the AL East, but Lewis will have the standings for you later on. They've lost 2 straight again, but they still have a higher winning percentage than the Detroit Tigers. The Blue Jays' winning percentage is .463. The Tigers' winning percentage is .439. Tomorrow night's starting pitching matchup is Francisco Liriano versus Marcus Stroman, who's been doing awful lately. But first, Francisco Liriano, 3-3, 3.94 ERA, 1.25 WHIP. Marcus Stroman, 0-5, 6.80 ERA, and a 1.68 WHIP.
You are pathetic!
And Francisco Liriano is going to be pitching in front of a hostile environment in Toronto, but I viewed a video from Urinating Tree that was published earlier today about MLB having an attendance problem. Their game attendance it's starting to their stadiums attendances are starting to decline. Each stadium is declining in attendance during games. And I feel for the fans too. But especially the Tigers, they have now dropped the fourth lowest attendances, the fourth lowest attendance in Major League Baseball this year. 4th lowest attendance at Comerica Park. And by the way, I wish that Urinating Tree would do a video on the Tigers really badly, especially with that Chris Bosio stuff. And we're going to get to that next. And right now, former Tigers pitching coach Chris Bosio has now filed a lawsuit for his dismissal over a racist comment. Again, it was an anti-Semitic comment towards Tigers baseball operations analyst Chris Bosio. Now, let me dig that up right about now. This is the postgame edition for Thursday, June 28th, 2018. There we go. Bosio is in shock after the Tigers firing and he said he could file a lawsuit. This is from Brian McWilliam from The Score. Former Detroit Tigers pitching coach Chris Bosio was caught off guard on Wednesday. He was fired for allegedly making insensitive remarks to a team employee. That is Sam Menzin, I just mentioned. That is from Jeff Moss of the Detroit Sports Rag, who broke out all the exact details about it. You can follow his Twitter handle, by the way, on Twitter at DeadSportsRag. Check out his website. Like his Facebook page, DetroitSportsRag.com, with the Ian McShane as Al Swearengin avatar on it. Bosio said, quote, "I'm crushed. I'm absolutely crushed. I still can't believe it's gotten to this point. I'm in shock." He might, unquote. Now he might file a lawsuit against the organization for wrongful termination. Bosio revealed he was dismissed for using the word monkey in a conversation overheard by an African-American clubhouse attendant. And this is actually a make-up story. The 55-year-old said he used the word, but not in a racial or disparaging manner, and it wasn't directed towards the aforementioned clubhouse attendant. Bosio explained, someone in our coach's room asked me about Daniel Stumpf, and I said, "Oh, you mean Spider Monkey? That's his nickname. He's a skinny little white kid." He said, yeah, that's what Bosio said. He's a skinny little white kid who makes all those funny faces when he works out, unquote. The kid thought we were talking about him. He got all upset. He assumed we were talking about him. I said, no, we're talking about Stumpf. And that was it. I swear on my mom and dad's graves there was nothing else to it, unquote. Bosio admitted to using the word after he was pulled into a private meeting with Tigers general manager Al Avila, manager Ron Gardenhire, and assistant GM John Westhoff on Tuesday, but clarified it was about Stumpf. He was fired the next day. I didn't deny it, unquote, but it was, Bosio said, quote, "I didn't deny it, but it was directed at Stumpf and the face he makes when he lifts weights. That's it." Unquote. While Bosio was in his first season as the Tigers pitching coach after helping the Chicago Cubs to a World Series title in 2016, realizes he'll never get his old job back in Detroit. He's thinking about filing a lawsuit to protect his name and future as a coach. Bosio said, quote, "I've got to protect myself some way because this is damaging as hell to me. I've got to fight for myself. Everyone knows this is not me. I didn't use any profanity. There was no vulgarity. The N-word wasn't used. No racial anything. It was a comment and a nickname we used for a player," unquote. Well, Chris, if you use the term monkey for a calling name, for name calling, well, and it's directed towards a white man, it still could offend the black people, you know. And they take offense and racism to that. And that's something you got to be careful saying. You got to choose your words wisely. That's it. There's no defending it. There's no defending racism in any way or enabling it whatsoever. Last night, Ron Gardenhire told me he has no comment about how surprised he is about the firing. He said I've had a quote, "I've had a relationship with Chris Bosio and that'll never end," and end quote. That's just how defensive Ron Gardenhire is with Chris Bosio, because he's had a relationship with him. Those two bond together really well. But secondly, that's just public relations crap. I'm not really sure about that, but this could be true, or Jeff Moss's exact details could be true. But he used a racial term nonetheless to whoever. and he got fired. No matter who it was directed towards, whether it was white or black, you just can't use that term, ever. You're going to get in legal trouble. You're going to get in employment trouble as well. So the Tigers have a new pitching coach. His name is Rick Anderson. That's all I know. I'm going to dig up more research later on him. But speaking of which, we got to move forward to some other news here. The Red Wings are eyeing a 2-year deal possibly with defenseman Mike Green. Yeah, but it's becoming more inevitable now. Just another blocking of another prospect spot in the NHL, or a Grand Rapids Griffin, whichever, or a Toledo Walleye player. So that's all the truth I have for today.
It's now time for the National Sports Report with Louis Tenore.
It's yours. Take it away.
Got it. All right. Before I do the baseball, the Major League Baseball scores, I'm going to do the college baseball because this is Game 3 of the World Series, the College World Series, and right now Oregon State is leading Arkansas 2-0 in the top of the second. Bases are loaded. More on that as we go along. All right. So now on to the Major League Baseball. The Twins of the White Sox in 13 innings. That's right, I said 13. 2-1. Busnitz got the win, and Santiago got the loss. In 10 innings, the Mariners over the Orioles 4-2. Pazos got the win. Castro got the loss, and Nicolizo got the save. And a dubious record has been set as Randy Machado got his 10th intentional walk. That's his career high for a season. Good grief. All right, continuing on. The Cubs over the Dodgers, 11-5. Christick got the win, and Bueller got the loss.
Last I saw was 10-3.
Your game was ended a little while ago. It became 11-5.
Oh, okay.
How weird. I know. In a wild game here, the Rockies edged the Giants 9-8. Ottaviano got the win, Dyson got the loss, and Davis got the save. Diamondbacks blanked the Marlins 4-0. Greinke got the win, and Richards got the loss. Zachy Boy did it again. All right. As we mentioned, the Athletics over the Tigers 4-2. Manny got the win, Fulmer got the loss, and Teheran got the save. Games in progress. No score between the Angels and the Red Sox in the bottom of the first. Barry is pitching, and Betts is at bat. Going into the bottom of the first, there's no score between the Nationals and the Phillies. Hernandez, Hoskins, and Hernia are due up. Top one, no score between the Brewers and the Cubs. There's 2 outs, though, and a runner on first. The Stefani is pitching, and Shaw is at bat. And last but not least, the Astros and the Rays are scoreless. No one on, no one out. McCullers Jr. is pitching, and Kempner is at bat. All right, so now let's check the standings, and it goes like this. And it's getting even more interesting, of course, in the American League East, as the Yankees are barely holding on to a lead in the division at excuse me. Yankees are barely the Red Sox are now taking over the lead. Excuse me. Oh boy. They are now 54-27 for the Red Sox, and the Yankees fall to a half game back at 52-26. The rest are all in a trash heap as the Rays are 39-40, decent, but still, 14 back. Blue Jays are 37-43, 16.5 back, and the Orioles, which are a national joke, are 30.5 back at 23-57, and we have not even reached July 1st yet. Good gravy, Marie. All right. In the Central, Indians, the only decent team in the division, are 44-35. Eight back are the Twins at 35-42. The Tigers are 9.5 back at 36-46. The White Sox are 16.5 back at 20-52, and the Royals are 19.5 back at 25-55. In the West, the Astros are 54-28. Have a 3-game lead over the Mariners at 51-31. Not bad. Athletics holding steady at 44-38, 10 back. The Angels are 41-40, 12.5 back, and the Rangers are bringing up the rear in that division at 36-46 at 18 back. All right, now to the National League. Braves, the surprise team of the year, 45-34. 2.5 back are the Phillies at 42-36. Nationals hanging around at 41-37, 3.5 back. The Mets, who thought they had something going on, lost last night's game right now, 32-46 at 12.5 back. And the Marlins, 32-50, 14.5 back. In the Central, the Brewers are 46-33, have a 2-game lead over the Cubs at 44-35. Cardinals are hanging around at 42-37, 4 back. Pirates, they're sinking at 8.5 back at 38-42, and the Reds, 34-46 at 12.5 back. Yeah, well. And in the West, D-backs are 47-34, have a 3.5 game lead over the Dodgers, 43-37. The Giants are 5.5 back at 42-40, not bad. Rockies, 39-42, 8 back, need some work. And the Padres are 12 back at 36-47. All right, so
not bad for not terrible for a last place team necessarily.
No, not terrible, not mathematically terrible, but they do need to get their act together now as we enter close to the second half of the season.
Well, they're the Padres. They're still bad.
That's true. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not exactly great either.
No,
and what I mean by what I also meant by the second half, I go by number of games played. I know a lot of people think, it's not the All-Star break. Well, you know. Okay, now for tomorrow's schedule, and it goes like this. The Twins take on the Cubs at 5:05. The 7:05 games are the Angels versus the Orioles. The Red Sox take on the Yankees. Oh, boy, here we go. And the Nationals take on the Phillies. 7:07 in the Battle of the Border. The Tigers. Battle of the Border. Tigers take on the Blue Jays. Okay, 7:10 games. Brewers take on the Reds. Mets take on the Marlins. The Astros take on the Rays. 8:05. White Sox take on the Rangers. 8:15. The Braves take on the Cardinals. 9:40. The Giants take on the D-backs. 10:05. The Indians take on the A's. At 10, I believe it's 10:40. No, 10:10. I'm sorry. The Royals take on the Mariners. Also 10:10 are the Rockies take on the Dodgers. And the Pirates take on the Padres. All right, so now we'll head on to soccer. There's no, first we'll do the scores for soccer here. As the group play ended today with 4 games. Poland blanks Japan 1-0. Colombia shuts out Senegal at 1-0. Belgium over England 1-0. And Tunisia over Panama. No, it's not 1-0, folks. It was 2-1 Tunisia. That ended group play today, so there is no action tomorrow in World Cup. That will resume again on Saturday. But there is a game tomorrow there is a game tomorrow in the MLS, the Major League Soccer, and it'll be Minnesota versus. Tomorrow's going to be. I'll get back to that. So anyway, we also have WNBA action. Tonight there's a few games in the WNBA here. Okay, here we go. We have a delay though in one game with the Liberty and the Mystics. They're not saying why. And the Sparks take on the Storm at 9:30. That's the LA Sparks versus the Seattle Storm. And there's 4 games on tap tomorrow. Friday is a big night. The Phoenix Mercury will take on the Indiana Fever at 7 o'clock, 7:30. The Chicago Sky will again take on the New York Liberty, back-to-back games. 8 o'clock, the Atlanta Dream take on the Minnesota Lynx. At 10:30, the LA Sparks will take on the Vegas Aces. So that takes care of that. So now we get to the news. Minnesota takes on Dallas tomorrow night in Major League Soccer. Okay, so now we'll go to the news items of the day, and it goes like this. Leading off, anyone for tennis? Well, Serena Williams will be ranked 25th as she entered Wimbledon at the Grand Slam event in London. The announcement was made yesterday. She has won 23 Grand Slam titles and 7 women's singles championship at the All England Club. She took a maternity leave for the birth of her child at age 36. Now she was ranked 183rd in world rankings and was not seeded at the French Open. For Wimbledon, seedings generally follow the WTA, that's the World Tennis Association, rankings, which projects players who have been out due to injury but not due to pregnancy. However, the All England Club can make a change if deemed necessary to produce a balanced draw. The U.S. Open said it would update its seeding policy on taking into account a player returning from pregnancy. Just for the record, French Open champion Simone Halep is number 1 in the women's rankings. Over on the men's side, Roger Federer, who is seeking his 8th singles title at Wimbledon, is ranked number 1 ahead of Roger Federer. And you know how those two, they play each other, way too hard. All right, on to that story I was going to mention before. Police investigated a body at the home of New York Giants cornerback Tenore Jenkins in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. The body was identified as Roosevelt Renee, a family friend who had been living at the house. According to the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office, the Prosecutor's Office said the matter of death will be determined by the Bergen County Medical Examiner's Office of a post-mortem exam. The police are treating it as a homicide investigation. As police told Diana Rossini of ESPN, Bergen County Prosecutor Des Callow had confirmed earlier that an investigation was taking place at the address. Jenkins was aware of the investigation. He was not at home when the body was discovered. He has been in Florida since the completion of minicamp 2 weeks ago. And I have more on that, actually, a little bit. But I'll get to that a little bit later, because we got more here, as the pressure is on the Lakers to acquire Kawhi Leonard from the Spurs. As league sources tell ESPN, there is a race to secure Leonard before James is faced with deciding to become a free agent by tomorrow at 11:59 p.m., especially with Oklahoma City Thunder Paul George, who is no longer assured of signing with the Lakers. That according to sources. Another preference by James that could impact free agency. League sources say that he wants to make a decision very quickly in July free agency. The Celtics, Cavaliers, Sixers, and Clippers are among teams who have made offers to the Spurs for Leonard. League sources say the Lakers franchise that Leonard wants to be traded did not have that good of a conversation with the Spurs. That report coming from ESPN. All right. Penguins have traded Connor Sheary and Matt Hunwick to the Buffalo Sabres for a conditional 2019 fourth-round draft selection. According to several media outlets yesterday, no salary is retained in the deal, as it appears to be a cap-clearing move for the Pens ahead of free agency, which begins this Sunday, July 1st. The trade was first reported by the Toronto Sports Network. Sheary is a winger that is under contract through the 2019-2020 season with a cap hit of $3 million. He signed with the team in 2015 as an undrafted free agent. He had a breakout season in 2016-17 where he scored 23 goals and had 30 assists in 61 games. But last season was a different story. He had only 18 goals and 12 assists in 79 games and only 2 assists in 12 playoff games. Hunwick, who was a defenseman, is also under contract for the next 2 seasons. His cap hit is $2.25 million. He only played 42 games for the Pens this season, averaging 17.5 minutes per game. Hunwick did not play in the playoff games for the Pens this season. The 2-time Stanley Cup champions were upset by the Capitals in that round, who went on to win their first Stanley Cup. All right. More on the story I was just mentioning. The brother of the Giants quarterback, Jarvis Jenkins, was charged with aggravated manslaughter after the body was found in Fairlawn, New Jersey. So this was his brother, William, was in custody and the investigation going on. And the defendant is presumed innocent. Sources told Justina Anderson of ESPN that Jenkins, meaning the younger brother, was taken into custody in Geneva, New York, and was being held in Ontario County, pending on being sent back to New Jersey.
Oh, that's the big story you were working on.
That's the one.
That we touched on off the air.
Yes. I told you I had a big story.
You did.
All right.
The
Cavaliers. Yes. Oh, okay. The Cavaliers will pick up the 2018-2019 option on Kendrick Perkins. Sources told ESPN the decision was made simply a salary cap ploy in order to retain the center's $2.5 million salary, along with the existing contract, in order to pursue a trade around the league. Team sources told ESPN the Cavaliers will continue to explore all options to improve heading into LeBron's decision about his future with the franchise. By picking up Perkins' option, Perkins' contract is non-guaranteed, at least for now. The Cavaliers would have to guarantee the contract to include it in a potential trade. The move is agent the Cavaliers front office invokes the so-called Haywood rule in the current CBA. The Cavaliers add the big man in the summer of 2014 on an escalating deal that includes a $10.5 million non-guaranteed salary in his second season, so they could use him as a trade chip in pursuit of bigger fish on the market. It's an awful big fish to fry. Anywho, all right, LA Lakers reopened talks with the Spurs yesterday in pursuit of who else? Kawhi Leonard. League sources told ESPN the stakes are extremely high because a deal for Leonard will likely clinch a commitment out of LeBron James. He has until late tomorrow night to decide on if he will opt out of his contract with the Cavaliers. And that's less than 36 hours away. And as I mentioned, there is a Game 3 in the College World Series. Sorry, this is winner take all. I mean, Arkansas had a chance, but they lost it on a home run in the top of the ninth. Oh boy. All right, continuing on now. Everton soccer sensation Wayne Rodney flew to the U.S., hinting that his move to join the DC United is drawing ever so closely. Reports are that Rodney has agreed to join the DC United from Everton, with the former Manchester United captain set to complete the deal once the league summer window reopens on July 10th. The Washington Post reports that Rodney will become the league's highest paid player after signing a 2.5-year contract that would pay him about $13 million in U.S. money, of course, with DC. Rodney could start his new team by the end of the week, according to the Post, which was already reported that he had secured his U.S. visa and work permit, and could feature his first match on July 14th against the Vancouver Whitecaps. Not a very good team, but still. Paul George has informed the franchise that he will not be opting on the final year of his contract and will become an unrestricted free agent. George has until 11:59 p.m. Tomorrow. Why can't they just say midnight? To formally decline to opt in. George, who will decline a $20.7 million salary for the upcoming season. In my book, I think you're crazy. Several teams, such as the Rockets, as well as the Sixers, are interested in taking George, as well as other sources are saying. The Pacers traded George a year ago when the 5-time All-Star built a strong relationship with All-Star guard Russell Westbrook before his trade. George had told the Pacers that he had planned to sign with the Lakers this summer. Nevertheless, Thunder GM Sam Priestley, coach Billy Donovan, have made a strong case to build a future with the Thunder and move the franchise contention with the Lakers. And I got news for you. The Lakers are, I think, a little bit a long way from contending. Got this year, pal. All right. Former Cubs slugger Slammin' Sammy Sosa is still denying that he ever used performance-enhancing drugs during his playing career. Sosa said in a recent interview on Outside the Lines with Jeremy Schaap, Dick's boy, he deflected the question each time it was asked, specifically whether he had taken performance-enhancing drugs. Sosa went on to say, "I never had taken drugs in this country." He talked about his career in baseball and life outside the game in a wide-ranging interview. Reminded that the New York Times reported in 2009 he did test positive. Sosa replied, "A lot of people did. A lot of people got out in that paper." The Times reported that Sosa's name came up among 104 players who had tested positive in 2003 before the league started issuing penalties for a positive test. Schaap again asked if he ever used performance-enhancing drugs, and again Sosa replied, "No, I never missed a test at the major league level." Are you sure about that?
What about the cork bat in the late 90s?
Yeah, actually they didn't mention anything about that. But that might be a contributing factor as well.
But I can't believe this is still going on and on and on after all these years.
Yeah, I remember like it was yesterday. All right. Carolina Panthers owner Jerry Richardson was fined $2.75 million by the NFL after an investigation into workplace misconduct by the outgoing owner of the Panthers. Owner Roger Goodell announced the findings of the league's investigation into Richardson was conducted by investigator Mary Jo White. She's a former U.S. attorney and SEC chairman. The NFL said in a statement that most of the money from the fine will be used to support organizations dedicated to addressing race and gender-based issues, both inside and outside the workplace. The allegations include 3 cases of sexual harassment and the use of a racial slur toward a team scout. None of the employees remain with the organization. Smart move. The NFL has suspended Jameis Winston for the first 3 games of the season, resulting from a 7-month investigation into an alleged allegation that the Bucs quarterback had groped a female Uber driver in March of 2016. Winston said in a statement that he was sorry to the Uber driver for putting her in this position, and to his teammates, the organization, and the fans for laying them down, and for not being able to be there for the first 3 games of the NFL season. Yeah, well, you should have thought of that first, okay? She's what a dope. All right, so now we'll check on more of the baseball scores here. By the way, it's still 2-0. Oregon State over Arkansas now, top of the 3rd. 2-0. No score between the Angels and Red Sox. Barry is pitching and Holt is at bat with 1 out and a runner on second. Top of the 2nd here, it's no score with the Nationals and Phillies. 1 out and also a runner on second. Nola is pitching and Cerviano is at bat. Bottom 1, it's now 2-0 as the Reds lead the Brewers. 2 out and runners on first and second. Gurry is pitching and Duvall is at bat. Top 2nd, it's 0-0 between the Astros and Rays with 2 out, but in the top of 2nd, the Astros have bases loaded. Yarborough is pitching and Springer is at bat. Let's see what Springer can do. And all the rest, I believe, are well, yes, they are. So that is it for me. I'll turn back over to you.
All right, and that's our National Sports Report, and that is our post-game edition for Thursday, June 28th, 2018. I'm Taylor Phillips. Before we sign off, I want to remind everyone to share this episode and our entire podcast on social media, because we want to tell them that the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast is searching for a wider audience that is fans of sports. So please spread the word about the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts via iTunes, its Facebook page, and its Twitter handle at Michigan_Truth, also coming soon to Get Vocal. For Louis Tenore, I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Thanks very much for listening, downloading, and sharing. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast does not represent or defame any of the teams it covers. It only detects, exposes, and reveals honest, actual, and hidden truth, facts, and statistics about them.
Mission complete.